Good morning, all. Welcome and thank you for joining us for the 2021 Future Educator Honor Roll. I'm Brittany Lane. I'm the Director of Educator Preparation at the Department of Higher Ed. At the department, my role is to provide oversight and support for the 22 colleges and universities around the state that offer programs to prepare educators. Here at the state, we also have 24 alternative preparation programs and about a dozen different kinds of high school pipeline programs, and the 22 colleges and universities around the state that offer programs to prepare educators. From those, our post-secondary educator preparation providers offer programs to in 50 different endorsement areas. That's the type of educators that we prepare. So elementary education, secondary science, early childhood, school counselors. There are over 12,000 students in these programs. We ask the providers of those programs to nominate up to 2 teacher candidates to celebrate here today for the Future Educator Honor Roll. And today we celebrate those candidates. We're going to drop the program in the chat so you can go look at the honorees and the information about them. Please do read their bios. We have some amazing teacher educator candidates to celebrate here today. Candidates, would you please make sure that your names and institutions are visible? And guests, could you also add or edit your name as well? But would you please turn off your cameras so that we can see just our candidates at this time? Though you may want to turn your camera back on when the candidate that you came to celebrate is honored so that they can see you celebrate. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you can change the view by clicking near the squares in the top. That'll allow you to change the view so that you can see the slides that I'm presenting at the same time as the speaker, just the speakers, or just the slides, or a bit of both. If you are ready, I would like to introduce our first speaker, and that is Dr. Angie Piccioni. And Dr. Piccioni is the Executive Director at the Colorado Department of Higher Education.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Lane. I want to thank all of you for joining us today to celebrate the best and the brightest future educators that our state has to offer. Today is a day that I look forward to every year. It's a day when we recognize extraordinary talent of our students and the mentorship and leadership of our educators that have helped to guide them. First, I want to share my sincere appreciation and gratitude for the entire audience today. This is a special day for so many of you and so many of us as well. As a former educator, I know what it took to get you to this moment. The hard work, the perseverance, the strength to overcome the many obstacles in your lives. Even I remember when I was doing my clinical experience, my student teaching, for my very masterful mentor teacher, I had a student just when I was about to take over the Western Civilization course at Smoky Hill High School. And I had a student come up to me on my first day of taking over and said, "You will never be able to fill her shoes." It's like, oh, gee, thanks. And so that's made me work extra hard to make sure that I knew everything that I didn't know about Western Civ prior, and made me work really, really hard. And I do remember at the end, he said, "You know what? You did a really good job." So I know what you've been through and what it took to get here. Teachers during this pandemic have shown resilience and adaptability during this very difficult year, and we're very grateful for your extraordinary efforts to support the students. Some candidates have had to complete their student teaching or other field experiences remotely. This was very hard, but you've adapted and you are stronger because of it. So congratulations for that. Colorado must ensure that there is an excellent teacher in every class. That starts with you, right here today. Yesterday, the governor announced the formation of a new cabinet position for early childhood education, because we want to make sure that from the very beginning, all through the educational process, that there is no end because we're all lifelong learners, but that there's an excellent teacher, an excellent educator in every single classroom in the state. We can't do that if we have educator shortages. Colorado has 179 school districts, and each one has demonstrated some sort of teacher shortage this year. For the 1920 to 2019-2020 school year, there were 7,242 open teacher positions. 147 remained unfilled for the entire school year. You can imagine what that's like for students to have that interrupted educator presence in the classroom. Shortages in secondary math and science, special education, early childhood, and world languages. This is a severe problem for the state. We've been trying to address this for many years, and you are helping us by taking this very bold step of becoming an educator. An awesome teacher is hard to find and impossible to forget. Remember that you don't just teach, you inspire. It's been years since I was a secondary educator at Smoky Hill High School, but I am still in contact with many of my former students, many of whom, I have to say, went on to major in some of the courses that I taught, because you as an educator have that unique responsibility and that unique privilege of being able to inspire future educators as well. There are 180 days in a school year, about 1,080 hours that you get to inspire these students. Dr. Lane knows I love the word inspire, because what it really means is that you essentially breathe life into these students. That inspire means that you are alive, that you have air in your lungs. Going way back in the medical field, it was the opposite of expire, which of course means that you have passed. And so when you inspire, what you're really doing is just bringing your content alive for the students. With the energy that you have and the expertise that you have, you get to inspire, to bring that content alive in them and for them. So it's exciting. I'm so excited for you, for the future that you have chosen, and for the work that you will do in our schools. You inspire people to become engineers and entrepreneurs and astronauts, and of course, future educators. So like everything else, good teaching takes practice. Like I described from the comment that my student gave me when I was student teaching, it takes a lot of practice. But we ask you also to be reflective, to seek feedback, to always improve your practice. Keep in contact with the mentors and the educators that got you here. I'm still in close contact with that mentor teacher whose shoes I wasn't able to fill, but who has described me as the best student teacher she's ever had. So there was a mutual admiration there. So stay in contact with those folks. Remember what you love about this practice, about this profession, and I'm just going to encourage you to go and do big things. Make a difference in the lives of your students, and let them make a difference in your life as well. You will never, ever regret making this choice and becoming an educator in Colorado. I know you can do big things, and we're waiting to see what you do. Thank you all for being here. It's unfortunate for me, but I'm going to have to leave early because I have to get to a cabinet meeting downtown Denver. So I'm going to only be able to be with you for another 15 minutes, but I'm excited to learn more about you. So Dr. Lane, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Piccioni. Next, we have Dr. Colleen ONeill from the Colorado Department of Education.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lane and Dr. Piccioni. I appreciate those words very much, Dr. Piccioni. Good morning to all, and thank you for allowing me a few minutes and a few words as we enter into this amazing opportunity with you. I'm Colleen ONeill. My current role is Associate Commissioner of Educator Talent for the Colorado Department of Ed, but more importantly, and the most important role I've ever held, is teacher, English teacher to be exact, as a junior and high school English teacher. I'm so excited to be here today with you because this is an amazing group filling an amazing space. We all collectively understand something that is incredibly powerful and life-changing. We understand the power of education. We understand the power of teaching. It is incredible, it is awesome, it is rewarding, it is hard, it can be tiring, especially after lunch, after recess duty, in an elementary school on a Friday afternoon. However, what we know is that no matter what the media says, no matter how many times we may hear people simplifying or simply misunderstanding our impacts as a profession, until they have been there in that moment, watching a student, watching a colleague, a teacher, a family member even, break out into that, I've got it now smile, they will never truly know how incredible teaching and education is. I'd like to remind us all that teaching is truly the profession upon which all others are built. Truly, no other profession exists without you. Remember that, please. Remember that every single day for eternity. You are the difference in the future for others. That's why we need you. That's why we need all of you. You're being celebrated today as outstanding educator candidates by your educator preparation programs. You are special. You are an educator. The very fact you chose to challenge yourself and extend your knowledge means there is something within you, something that's wanting to be unleashed and empower the potential within those students you will teach, within those teachers that you will work with, within the schools, within the systems, and with the communities that you will serve. I read this some time ago, and being a teacher, an English teacher, it resonates with me. The word educate, which originated from Latin, doesn't simply mean to teach. It actually has several meanings. One of those depends on which ending you choose, educare or educere. Educare is meant to lead or to draw something out. Educere was used when speaking of molding or training someone. So even from its very early days, the role of educator has been not only to mold and shape the future, but to lead and draw out the potential of others. Those of you who we celebrate today, you are both kinds of educators. You are sculptors and you are leaders. You are a special group and we need you. Kids need you. Our community needs you. Dr. Pachoni talked about the educator shortage. Our entire state needs you. I applaud your career choice, your courage, your compassion, your talent. Thank yourselves and acknowledge what you have accomplished. Take a moment to simply breathe in the amazingness that you have and you get to celebrate today. Let's even take a moment and mentally high five ourselves, or maybe the person next to you in the Zoom room. If you can figure out how to do that, I would love to watch it. But please congratulate yourself. You are educators. You are preparing and leading students into their future, into our future. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for what you will do. You will be amazing, incredible sculptors and leaders. You are the sculptors of our future. Congratulations, well done, and cheers to bringing our next great future to us. Thank you so much for your time, and I will turn it back over to Dr. Lane.
Thank you, Dr. O'Neill. Next, we have Dr. Harvey Rood from the Colorado Center for Rural Education.
Well, thank you, Britt. So Britt asked me to talk a little bit about the importance and value of teaching in rural schools. And that's a natural for me because I want you to know that I have some rural cred. I grew up in a small farming community in rural Minnesota. The little village had 200 people. My father was the mechanic that fixed all of the stuff that broke, and my grandfather was a blacksmith. They were in the same space working together. So my little school was a 3-room schoolhouse that served grades 1 through 8 and had to go 7 miles to the next small town to go to the high school, where I had 21 students in my class. So that launched me on a wonderful path where I've spent the last 48 years of my career. First 7 were teaching and working as an administrator in rural schools. And the last 41 have been in higher education. So in terms of the importance and value of teaching in rural schools, I'm going to change that a little bit and talk about the top 10 reasons you should be teaching or you should be an educator in a rural school, with apologies to David Letterman for those of you who remember who that is. So, number 1, if you forget your lunch, you won't go hungry. We have some of the best meal providers in our rural schools in Colorado that you'll find anywhere. And on those days when I left my sandwich back at home, I couldn't wait to get those nice warm meals that were cooked by good home cooking. Number 2, your class numbers will likely be smaller than your urban counterparts. You know, a lot of the individuals from urban population centers are discovering the gems that are embedded in rural. And that really is an opportunity because in many cases, we have some small rural districts where it's not uncommon to have multi-age grouping. The research on that seems to be pretty clear that the outcomes academically are the same, but we find better social and emotional learning outcomes from those multi-age groupings. And as someone who was a special education teacher and a special education professor for years and years, the values of equity and how we provide equal access is incredibly important. Number 3, you're going to wear a lot of different hats if you're in rural. You know, think about it. There'll be less faculty and fewer children, but you're going to have opportunities to get involved in a broader sense. From my own standpoint, I coached football, basketball, and track, and I loved it. If that's not your thing, there are all kinds of opportunities to get involved, which is number 4. There will be lots of community involvement. Many rural communities are very tightly knit, and you tend to participate in lots of community events like bake sales, community get-togethers, town hall meetings, summer fairs, ball games. The community really is reflected by the school. Number 5, you're going to hear some imaginative excuses from your students. Forget that old adage that the dog ate my homework. You're going to hear legitimate stories that the goat ate my homework, or we stayed all night giving birth to a colt, to a new baby horse. Those are legitimate. Number 6, you're going to be well-known and respected. In a sense, you're never off duty. Think about it as being a role model for kids as well as the rest of the community. The respect that you get is incredible. I can attest to that firsthand. Number 7 on my top 10 list, you'll have a chance to be a sports star. You don't have to be particularly athletic to be involved in activities and working with what's important in the community. So keep your workout gear and your whistle ready. You might be called upon to referee a ball game. Number 8, you may well be teaching past students' kids. I certainly ran into that when I was teaching. The stability, predictability, and parent and family engagement and support are really unique in so many of our rural communities. And I think you find that to be a huge advantage. Number 9, you can't help but appreciate the daily outdoor education. Just think about it. All the green space that you get exposed to, it's outdoor education every day. And number 10, the school is the glue that holds rural communities together, you know, along with healthcare and basic services like grocery store, gas station, and of course the bar. But you get a strong sense of what it means to give back. I've certainly found that in addition to being in higher ed, I've worked for over the last 30 years with Native American education in some of the most rural and remote communities in our country. And the sense of how you watch some of those students go on to college, which they never thought they could do, and come back and do something for the community really makes a huge difference. So that's my top 10 list. I hope you'll think about rural education. We have a variety of incentive programs that we offer through the Colorado Center for Rural Education. And just consider it as a wonderful opportunity that's out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roon. Next, we have Dr. Roseanne Fulton from the Center for Urban Ed.
Brittany, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here, and Angie as well. It's really fun to see both of you. And for all of the honorees and family members and aunties and uncles and neighbors, just know Colorado's in really good hands with Brittany and Angie's leadership and in the Department of Higher Education. I'm just really happy to have this opportunity to celebrate in a very special way with the honorees today, and to really think on a carefully about all that you guys have accomplished over the course of 4 or 5 or 8 years, depending on your own life stories and your journey to becoming a teacher. I get to serve as the director of the Center for Urban Education, and I'm with the University of Northern Colorado. We have such important work to do at our center. It's just incredible and compelling every single day. I just know from all of the experiences that we have in schools, the teachers right now are just making such a big difference in the lives of so many students across our city and across our state and across the country. And it's just really, really humbling for me to think about all of the contributions that we get to make as educators. I've just been thinking carefully about the most recent research that I have regarding the 8 competencies for teachers who are really able to make the biggest difference in urban schools and urban classrooms. And I do love that the author has called them competencies, because that means that we can all develop the competencies over time. You can be darn good at any one of them right now and expect to get better. Anyway, the 2 that I really want to highlight are, 1, a constant, never-ending disposition for learning. So you, as teachers, you get to continue to learn about yourself and learn about your strengths and learn about the ways in which you want to make a bigger difference than you're already making, and then dedicate just as much energy to learning about others. And in urban classrooms and urban districts, it's so critical and so fun to spend energy learning about others who look like me and others who look very different from me. So it's just so fun to think about building alliances across racial lines and cultural lines and linguistic lines, so that we can really work together as allies for the sake of all the people that we want to serve. So just to commit continuous learning. And then the second one I think that's so important is to collaborate with others. And I just want us to remember what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said over and over: lead in such a way that you bring others along with you, so that you have this constant energy and heart for collaborating with colleagues, collaborating with your students themselves, and collaborating with your students' families and communities. So that as a white person teaching at Martin Luther King Middle School, when I had that opportunity a few years ago, I could not believe how much smarter I got by committing to really listening to students and listening to the dads and listening to the mothers of the students who grew up so differently than I did. And by getting smarter and smarter about their perspectives, I just became wiser and wiser myself, and wiser about the ways in which I could provide service that really mattered for the children I was serving. So I'm just so happy for all of the honorees. I'm just so happy to recognize Devon from our center this morning. I can't wait to be able to give him a hug at some point. And Brittany, I'm just so thankful for you for organizing this event. I'm looking forward to seeing all the honorees.
Thank you, Roseanne. I can't wait to hug you too. Next, we have Mr. Gerardo Munoz. Mr. Munoz is the 2021 Colorado Teacher of the Year. Mr. Munoz. Oops, you're on mute, sir.
Of course, this is a daily occurrence, even for the 2021 Colorado Teacher of the Year. What's up, everybody? I'm Gerardo Munoz. I am your 2021 Colorado Teacher of the Year, which means that I represent the 40,000 teachers in the state of Colorado in a various number of forums. So first of all, I just want to thank CDE for inviting me here. Super exciting to speak to all of you today, and to, just really applaud you and give a resounding let's go for your next steps. I understand it's a room with a lot of variety. We have a lot of learners at a lot of different moments in their learning, and I'm just so excited for what you all have to do. Let's start with a poem. Hold fast your dreams, for when dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast your dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that Langston Hughes poem and what it means to me as an educator and as a man of color, as the first Chicano identifying male to win the State Teacher of the Year. But before I do that, I'm going to take you back to 7th grade me at Cole Middle School in Denver Public Schools. When I was a 12, 13-year-old, I was annoying, y'all. I was real annoying. I loved attention from my peers, but I wouldn't talk to teachers. I wouldn't engage when teachers asked me to do things. I also couldn't sit still. I remember an incident in woodshop that may or may not have been instigated by me, where the woodshop teacher was telling us that when you have this kind of like wheel sander, that make sure you put it where the wheel is going down, because if you put it where it's going up, then you're going to shoot wood across the room. That seemed to me less of a caution and more of an invitation. And so we proceeded to just have a blast with that thing. Lab safety rules be damned. This incident kind of, and of course we got in trouble, rightfully. This incident was really illustrative of the person that I was. I was curious, I was energetic, I wanted to connect to people. The next semester I was put in drama class. And for a little brown kid from the East Side who didn't like to talk because I had a really terrible stutter, and so what I learned to do with my stutter was to mumble. I would just talk really quietly, so you couldn't hear the mistakes that I was making. So I get into drama class and I'm like, oh no, indeed, this is not something I'm about to do. And I contrived to get myself thrown out of class 3 out of 5 days in the first week. But Miss Fuller never gave up on me. And I came up with all manner of excuses to not engage. And then she told us in January, she said, you all are going to memorize a poem and you're going to recite this poem in front of the entire school for Black History Month. And I'm like, ha ha, little do you know, that is not something that's happening with me. But something really powerful happened. I discovered Eric B. and Rakim. I identify myself above and beyond a hip hop pedagogue. And when I heard Rakim spit, I was like, I want to talk like that. Like, I want to talk like that. And the combination of hearing that music and having Miss Fuller insist, no, you will use your words and you will get strong as a communicator and you will root yourself in the culture that you grew up in, was absolutely transformational for me. I'll never forget that. And 32 years later, I still know that poem by heart. And it's because of Miss Fuller. What I want to call you all to do is to see your students. The message I'm hearing from across the state, when I talk to educators, when I talk to young people, when I talk to families and communities, whether we're talking about smaller communities outside of Denver's bubble, or whether we're talking about communities whose schools have been absolutely decimated by performance frameworks and ranking systems that don't see these communities for who they are, is that we just want you to see us. Martin Luther King Jr. Early College, 10 minutes away from where I live, is a school that has performed low on the school performance framework. And yet, what they are doing to glorify Black lives and Black youth is absolutely transformational. And it's inspiring. Check out the No Justice, No Peace podcast that those young women are doing. That's absolutely incredible. So what I would say to you, what keeps me going in this work after 22 years, I have never had an easy year and I have never had a bad year, is the fact that my students have so much to teach me. If I just see them and if I just listen to them and I just believe that they are exactly the people that they are supposed to be. Now, They don't know how to do everything that maybe we would like them to know how to do. They may not be great at historical argumentation yet. They may not be great at showing their work in math. They may not be great at expressing themselves verbally in a comfortable way. They may not be great at using their gifts to uplift their communities and themselves, but they're who they're supposed to be. The funny, goofy kid that just wants to connect with people, like that is a future organizer. That is somebody that can really, really inspire and motivate people. Your GPA doesn't define the kind of person that you are, but our job as teachers is to figure out who our students are, to see them, to make them feel seen, and to then show them how to use their gifts to make their dreams come true, nothing less. And there are successes and failures along the way. But our young people are there to teach us. I would not be in front of you today speaking as the 2021 Colorado Teacher of the Year if somebody had not seen me back in 1988. I thank you for your time. I'm inspired by all of you. I cannot wait to get to know you. Reach out to me. I am everywhere. Just check things out. And shout out to Ben, former math fellow, Derek. Yes, these are our people from DCIS. So just really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to be seen, because you deserve to be seen as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerardo. Next, we get to celebrate each and every one of you. Our next guest, Annette Kanasaki Graf, is going to read the names of our candidates. Please take a second to give us a wave, candidates, so we can see which ones you are. Also, guests, if you want to turn your videos on for the portion where you get to celebrate them, please do. Annette.
Here we go. I'm so thrilled to be able to read these incredible names, and I think I want to continue riding the high from Gerardo's words, so I'm just going to dive right in with the fabulous Joanna Ramirez, Aurora Public Schools Pathways to Teaching. Next, Jason Melvin, Cherry Creek School District Future Educator Pathway. Emma Tucker, Cherry Creek School District Future Educator Pathway. Stephanie Moore, Colorado Christian University. Christy Perry, Colorado Christian University. Joran Powell, Colorado Christian University. Desiree Grinterod, Colorado Mesa University. Sydney Pritchard, Colorado Mesa University. Tatiana Medina, Colorado State University. Emma Borchers, Colorado Teacher Cadet. Eric Keithley, Friends Teacher Preparation Program. Katie Thompson, Friends Teacher Preparation Program. Aisha Bouya, Metropolitan State University of Denver. Marilyn Boimbo, Metropolitan State University of Denver. Marissa Carolstrom, Metropolitan State University of Denver. Cameron Leonard, Metropolitan State University of Denver. Julia Vasquez, Metropolitan State University of Denver. Look at these MSU kids, yes. Christina Flores, Public Education and Business Coalition. Mario De Leon, Public Education and Business Coalition, Teacher Residency. Joshua Frenkel, Regis University. Benjamin Freer, Relay Graduate School of Education. Coral Ruiz, Relay Graduate School of Education. Jasmine Cooey Kendall, Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. I'm seeing us going through them here. There we go. Elena DeAndrea, University of Colorado. Brooke Tingy, University of Colorado. Enya Brass, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Megan Gould Woodring, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Anthony Krajewski, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Kayla Sanchez, University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Karen Cardenas Hernandez, University of Colorado, Denver. Derek Nevares, University of Colorado, Denver. Katie Cannon, University of Denver. Lul Yusuf, University of Denver. I love a shout out like that. Bring it on. Aaron Hiddle, University of Northern Colorado. Holly Miner, University of Northern Colorado. Devon Reese, University of Northern Colorado. Melissa DeMuth, West Central Alternative Licensure Program. Michael Becky, Western Colorado University. And of course, last but not least, Ashlyn Hugo, Western Colorado University. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for shaping the future of Colorado.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you again to all of our speakers, and thank you for our guests who came to celebrate these amazing educators. Thank you, honorees. We are so thankful that you have chosen this amazing profession, and we can't wait to see you rock it. Again, if you will go check out the program online, candidates will be sure to send you a copy. We're also going to make sure that your videos get posted, and those are in the program as well. If you would go check those out, please. We are so, again, inspired and excited for you. Thank you so much again for attending this amazing event.